sexy back. We're bringing sexy back.
Let's get it started. Harder, won't you give it up? What you embody, we're gonna start it as square one. Pause the music up while you get up out of your seat.
Hello, beautiful. It is Thursday, and you know what goes down here on Thursday. Wife Life with Gail goes down here on Thursday, and I am so excited that you decided to join me tonight. Tonight, we're going to talk about the sexual response cycle of a woman. And a lot of people are like, Gail, what is a sexual response cycle of a woman? Well, let me just tell you, when women and men both have a sexual response cycle. It just so happens that most of the time we achieve and go through the cycle at different times. Especially men achieve and go through the cycle much faster than women. And we are a little bit slower. We're like an oven, right? Men are more like microwaves. And so the sexual response cycle for a woman, again, is a little bit slower, but it's a little bit more exciting as well. And so there's four stages of the sexual response cycle. And I have done an in-depth study in a program that I put together called Let's Talk About Sex Part 1. And I went really in depth. So tonight I'm just going to really just go over the sexual response cycle. And at the end of this video, I'm going to tell you how you can go purchase the whole entire teaching plus a whole lot more in Let's Talk About Sex Part 1. So let me just give you a brief overview of what the sexual response cycle is. It's a sequence of physical and emotional changes that occur when the body becomes aroused, right? Knowing your body's response during each phase can really help you and your partner achieve orgasm and achieve pleasure at a higher rate, right? Because most of the time, each partner might have a different sex drive. Some can be high, some can be low. And most of the time they're not on the same pages. So if you really understand your sexual response cycle, it can really help with helping you navigate how to achieve all different phases and receive pleasure. And I wrote a book called Keep Your Legs Open, Understanding Why a Woman's Sexual Satisfaction, because I realized that so many women don't really understand their bodies, how it works, and what they need to give their partner in order for them to receive pleasure. And so again, I'm always on this path to really help women in this area. So there's four phases of the sexual response cycle, and I'm going to go over each one of them. But again, I'm not going to go in depth because, again, I already did a whole entire program, a webinar on Let's Talk About Sex Part 1. So phase 1 is the excitement phase, the desire, right? This is the phase where you're saying my body is desiring to have sex with my partner, with my husband. It's the desire. And in the desire phase, your body begins to tense up, right? Because you're like, oh my God, it's like anticipation of what is about to happen, right? Your heart rate increases. Also, your blood begins to flow, your breathing begins to increase. And so that's phase 1, the excitement and desire phase. Part 2 is the plateau and arousal phase, right? Plateau and arousal phase. In this phase, right, all of the things that I just talked about in phase 1, the deep breathing, the excitement, the blood flow to the genitals, all of those things are present. It's just heightened, right? Because at this point in time, you probably have introduced touch. You probably have introduced kissing. You probably have introduced all of these different things to give you foreplay. And all of these things from phase 1, which is excitement and the breathing and the blood flowing and the juices are flowing, all of these things are happening, but they're also heightened in this second phase, which is arousal, right? So you're ready. Your body has physically and mentally got ready to receive, right? To receive or to give pleasure. Because I believe having amazing sex is giving and receiving pleasure, right? And again, men will get to these phases a lot quicker. And that's the reason why it is so important as a woman to be able to understand your sexual response cycle and also help guide your partner in the areas that you need more stimulation, more time, more caressing. And again, it's also important that you understand your body and your needs, your wants, and your desires. And I always tell my couples to talk about these things outside of the bedroom. So when you're inside the bedroom, it's not like you're giving commands. You're actually being able to give and receive pleasure. Okay, so that's phase 2. Phase 3 is orgasm. And let me just tell you, for most women, it's very, very hard to achieve orgasm, especially if you have not taught yourself to empty your mind, to relax your body, and you don't understand what the phases are that you need to achieve orgasm. And a lot of times we don't achieve orgasm is because we have other things on our mind. We're dealing with stress. We're dealing with unforgiveness. We're dealing with so many different things that happen outside of the bedroom. And so we just come into the bedroom and we feel like, it's our duty to have sex with our mates. But that's not the will of God. He wants you to enjoy. He wants you to achieve orgasm. And let me just tell you, it is good for the body for you to achieve orgasms, because again, orgasms are amazing. And again, in my webinar, Let's Talk About Sex Part 1, I talk about the 12 orgasms that a woman can achieve. And yes, there are 12, and yes, they are all good. Okay, because achieving orgasm is a way to lower blood pressure. It's so healthy for the body. And if you're not achieving orgasm, you really need to figure out what needs to happen in the sexual response cycle, right, in order for you to be able to do it. And again, a lot of it has to do with not physical, but emotional. And so I work with women outside of the bedroom to really get their emotions under wraps, to really understand how their body works, understand their own erogenous zones, understand how to lead their partners to those erogenous zones so you can feel good, you can relax, you can deal with all the stuff that is stressing you out, that's keeping you from achieving orgasm outside of the bedroom in order to be able to do it inside the bedroom. So orgasm is phase 3, okay? And then phase 4 is resolution. And a lot of times, resolution can last a while. And what do I mean by what it can last a while? Because again, most of the time we don't want to feel like, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. We want to feel like we have given and we have received pleasure. But resolution is when the body begins to come back to what we consider a normal state, right? Your breathing has slowed down, right? The blood flow to your genitals are starting to decrease, right? You begin to not sweat as much. Your touch is not as heightened as it was in the arousal stage, right? At this time, your body is in a more relaxed state, right? Because again, you have already achieved orgasm. You've already achieved, excitement. You have already achieved, erections and all of these different kind of things. So it's really when the body comes back to a restful state. But again, this is a time for you to enjoy cuddling and kissing and just making sure that you are giving and receiving pleasure. It's time for you to hug your loved one and just enjoy each other as you both come back to what we consider a normal state. But most of the time, people say, oh, I just did it and he fell asleep, or she, he didn't do any of those things. And again, if that is happening on a consistent basis, it could be because there's something else going on outside of the bedroom that has not been addressed. And the biggest thing that I want you to get out of this teaching today is that you will be able to go through all of these phases if you take your time and literally plan to enjoy each phase. And so again, I want to go over each phase one more time just so we can get the sexual response cycle. And if you're skipping any of them, I admonish you to slow down. I admonish you to enjoy how your body goes through each phase. Now, some men will, like I said, go from zero and their bodies will experience all of those things. But as a woman, we are not built that way. And so you're going to have to be able to communicate how to slow down in order for you to be able to enjoy pleasure and to go take your body through all of these phases. Because if you get a chance to go through all of these phases, I'm telling you, you will live a more sexually fulfilled life, and you will want to be able to enjoy sex on a more regular basis if this is happening. Now, I'm not saying don't be spontaneous and quickies and, all of those different kind of things, because that does add excitement. But what I'm saying is if when you really plan to go through the sexual response cycle, it becomes more enjoyable and it becomes more pleasurable. And it's something that your body needs to go through all of these phases. So phase 1, again, is excitement and desire. Phase 2 is plateau and arousal. Phase 3 is orgasm. And remember, orgasm does the body good in so many different ways. And phase 4 is resolution. And again, my desire is that, you go to WifeLifeU.com and you purchase Let's Talk About Sex Part 1, because again, I go through the whole entire teaching. I go in depth about orgasm. I go in depth about anatomy, all kind of different things. Again, I thank you so much for joining me here. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please take the time and just hit the subscribe button below this video. And I will see you next Thursday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Have an amazing night.
Sexy back. We're bringing sexy back.
Let's get it started. Harder, won't you give it up? What you want, body, we're going.